Welcome to the No Budget Into Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel, or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. My name is Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, are my most excellent co-hosts, Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Claire, what did you force us to watch this week?
Well, this week, we all finally got to watch Wild Mountain Thyme. Yay!
Yay!
Big cheers and celebrations. Now, the guys know I've been looking forward to this film since I heard about it. It was a good bit before Christmas when the trailer came out. And of course, I was really excited, thinking, oh my God, a new Irish film starring Emily Blunt, Jamie Dornan, Christopher Walken, and John Hamm. And then they said it would be out on the 8th of January. So I was thinking, yes, the 8th of January comes along. There is no sign of this film. I Googled it, I looked it up, everything was blocked, and we're all filmmakers. I wanted to watch this legally. I wanted to pay money to the filmmakers to watch this film. But anyway, I kind of forgot about it. And then Carl here, he texted me and he said, oh my God, Claire, it's coming out the 30th of April. Yay! I think he texted me the next day saying, oh, but it's going to be geo-blocked in Ireland, So then I was like, oh God, they really don't want Irish people to watch this film. And they said, oh, Irish people get to watch it later in the year in the cinemas. Cinemas, I think they're opening in June, but at the time we didn't know when they'd be open. But they backtracked and they released it on the 30th of April in Ireland. So we all sat down and we had a watch party last week to watch the joys of Wild Mountain Thyme. So Wild Mountain Thyme is a love story about Anthony Riley, played by Jamie Dornan, and Rosemary Muldoon, played by Emily Blunt. And so Rosemary is kind of going after Anthony, and she really likes him, but Anthony keeps rebuffing her for some weird reason, which comes out later, which is the most crazy thing, which we won't reveal here. And then Anthony's cousin comes along in the shape of John Hamm, and he falls for Rosemary, and she kind of likes him, and they go to New York for a bit, and very strange things happen. So it's a romantic comedy set in, I actually don't know where exactly it's set. I know it's filmed in Mayo, but it's based on a play called Outside Mullingar, which had a run on Broadway. I think it was a very successful run on Broadway a few years back, and it's written and directed by John Patrick Shanley. And the play, he also wrote the play. So John Patrick Shanley also wrote Doubt. Do you know that very famous, well, it was originally a play, but very famous film with Meryl Streep. So yeah, for me, as an Irish person watching this, after seeing the trailer was an awful lot worse. The accents looked a lot worse. Then I went to see this, they weren't as bad, but what are these actors doing in this film? I do not know. Christopher Walken looks like an electrified puppet. That's how I describe him as. Like Emily Blunt, they're in their mid-30s, Emily Blunt, Jamie Dornan. It's crazy. They're a bit too old for these characters. And Emily Blunt has a weird wig. I think she's wearing contacts. And Jamie Dornan, the beautiful Jamie Dornan, what is he doing playing this fool, more or less, who goes around with a metal detector and a weird coat? But it's bizarre, crazy, verging on parody, but then it doesn't really work. A lot of the jokes kind of fall flat. But it wasn't as bad as I thought. So what do you guys think of it? Milo being an American and Carl being Irish, so you probably have different views on it.
Yeah, I'll let the American go.
Yeah, so having lived in Ireland, so I at least have that experience. I've lived there for quite a number of years. And I did not encounter anyone who reminded me of these characters from this film. And I think that's a good thing. So yeah, you've got a group of very talented actors across the board, all being terrible. Christopher Walken, you're right. They must have had some kind of electric stick up his ass in order to get him to say these lines. And with his somewhat attempted an Irish accent, I'm assuming, the Hollywood Irish. You mentioned, Jamie Dornan, who is Irish, but was using the wrong Irish accent in this film. It's just across the board. It has no redeeming qualities. I'm sorry, Claire. I know you think it was better than you thought. And the thing is, John Patrick Shanley has made good films in the past, right? He did Joe versus the Volcano, which I loved. I know a lot of people didn't like that film, but I did really like that film. What's the other film that he's the one that you mentioned? I can't think of the name of it at the moment.
Doubt and
Doubt,
Moonstruck. Moonstruck.
He wrote Moonstruck,
Yeah.
which is an awful film. Actually, I know everybody loves Moonstruck, but I actually passionately hate it. So it is also an extremely boring film. But anyway, I think the Directors Guild needs to revoke his membership. He should no longer be allowed to write and direct films after making this film, and no one should ever hire him again to make a film. That is how bad this film is. There's so okay. I mean, the writing is terrible. The story plot that you mentioned, there's a twist at the end that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. The dialogue is terrible. The cinematography is terrible. It's so cliche, wannabe, look at Ireland cinematography. Also / this came from a stage. Yeah, the editing is even terrible. There's cuts in this that you're like, what in the world are they thinking cutting this like this? There's a scene with her dancing where it like starts off with her shooting some birds, then goes to her putting a record on a record player to like dancing outside, but then it has this music running through the whole thing, and just the way it's chopped together doesn't work at all. There is the costuming. There's literally the music. I know the music has won a few awards even, but it's so cliche, like Irish violin-y crap. The song "Wild Mountain Thyme" is Scottish, if I remember, if I'm correct here. Yes. So the song that this movie is based on, that is sang in the movie, isn't even an Irish song. Like, they couldn't come up with a fucking Irish song to use in this film. It is utterly horrible and utter garbage.
Wow, what?
That's impressive.
Well, just with regard to Moonstruck, I did read that won an Oscar for best.
It did win a lot of Oscars. I know everybody loves Moonstruck. I think I'm the only one in the world who doesn't like Moonstruck.
I know I've probably seen it, but I don't actually remember anything.
Because it's so boring and nothing happens. Right. If you want to fall asleep, watch Moonstruck.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this stuff, as Claire probably pointed out, it's one of the the must-watch films almost of 2021, and mainly a lot of that has to do with the trailer which came out last year, and that's kind of went viral. Like, oh my god, what the hell is this? So it was like you wanted to see how bad it was. And, so how bad was it? Let me count the ways. But first of all, let's talk about the positive things. The grass looked nice. Here we go. There you go. That's my stand-up joke. But like the accents. Like you said, I mean, from the trailer, we thought, oh my God, this is just going to be an unmitigated disaster. But they were okay, and maybe they were terrible. We just got used to them, and the acting was okay. I mean, I did think they were miscast in the roles, as you said, but more than anything else, it was boring. It was just a sort of an extended soap opera of unrequited love, and it wasn't convincing in any way, and it was hard to muster any sense of feeling towards caring for either of them. And as you said, the ending, that reveal at the ending, was just completely bizarre. God.
It's so bizarre. Like, actually, just read out one or two reviews here. A reviewer called David Ehrlich said, "This sometimes enchanting but always demented soda barrel of banter and blarney couldn't be a broader caricature of Irish culture if it were written by the Keebler elves and directed by a pint of Guinness. And that's one quote. And the Leprechaun Museum of Ireland, they responded, even we think this is a bit too much. So that was just, so if the Leprechaun Museum of Ireland thinks it's too much, it's too much. But it's another one as well. Is the whole thing is essentially one river dancing leprechaun short of a fairy tale. That just sums it up, really.
I think that was the only thing that it was missing is river dance and leprechauns.
Yeah, actually, and rainbows and pots of gold and
there were scenes that were just shooting there for no apparent reason. It's the same, for instance, on the lake with the boat, waving the oar. We have no idea what that was about.
No.
It was like just done for a laugh. Like this is just to make him look stupid.
Like there's one bizarre scene as well where she's dancing to Swan Lake while closing the windows. Like it's just bizarre.
Yeah, that whole sequence.
It was just like, oh my God. And then we won't say what it is, but Holy Mother of Jesus, Bigara and Top of the Morning, the little twist / whatever you call it, jumping the shark. It's not jumping the shark, it's like, going to the moon and back. Do you know what I mean? It is crazy, like bizarre. Just
Goo-boo. There was a phrase in Irish politics in the 1980s. It's called goo-boo, and it was grotesque, unbelievable, bizarre, and unprecedented. So you could almost say it was
like every revelation you can ever think of ever, this revelation will not be it. And then of course the whole American thing, it's like Irish people aren't, we do have electricity. Do you know what I mean? We go to, we're not, we are in a first world country. So when she goes to New York, it's like she's never like left the farm, and the costumes as well, they're from 1800s. I wouldn't even say 1950s, 1800s. It's bizarre. It's funny because
you watch this film and you're like, what year does this actually take place in? Because he rents a Mercedes from the airport, but it's like a 1960s era Mercedes. They ride horses and nobody has a mobile phone. Like it's just, there's so many different things from so many different generations.
And then her singing as well. And it's just a bit cringy parts of it, very cringy, but there's obviously a market for it somewhere.
Apart from the beginning to the end, that part was cringy. I was, as we said before, it was based on the play Outside Mullingar, and I was looking up some of the reviews from that, and there was one. I'll just read a quick excerpt from the New York Times, Charles Isherwood, and he says, Mr. Shanley's lyrical writing and flawless production, blah, 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 gave such consistent pleasure, right? That was New York Times. And then Fintan O'Toole from the Irish Times described it as mystifyingly awful. That was the play, by the way. And it did come across as an extended play at times, because most of the last half hour just took place in one location.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I can see it as a play. I mean, it makes sense that it was a play. Like, you're right. So many of those scenes, you can imagine being on a stage with the dial, sitting around the table, having conversations, that kind of stuff. But even then, I'm really surprised that it worked so well as a play. Like, I mean, I don't know what got changed for the film that made it terrible. But
well, it probably does point to different audiences.
Yeah,
maybe the Irish American audience.
I'd love to know about how did the actors agree to do this, and how did they respond when they got the dialogue of the script? I'd love to know, because I know Holiday Granger, she was originally meant to play Emily Blunt's character. You know, maybe she dropped out when she read the script. I don't know. But I just don't know how to say some of those lines.
Yeah, you and I, we compared it to The Quiet Man. And I think they were trying to kind of tap into that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
I think somebody pointed, maybe it was Colin, that The Quiet Man sort of was tongue in cheek to a degree that this isn't. I think this trying to take it a bit more seriously.
Yeah.
Well, The Quiet Man was made in what, 1950 something, 55, 56, something like that. So it was made with a very different style and era of filmmaking that worked then. I mean, that it made more sense for that era. Like, I don't think you could make The Quiet Man today and have it look like it did then, you know, like it wouldn't work. And so it's fine that if that's what they were trying to do with this, but it didn't work at all.
Just to try into that kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. And the fact they wouldn't release it in Ireland for so long, I think the writer knew, like, he knew, listen, he even warned, like, it's not for the Irish market, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he probably made money out of it, though, you know, because I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are people who will watch it and like it too.
Mm. Right. There are. I'm sure there are. But, you know, I'm not one of them.
There's nothing wrong with that.
To each their own. To each their own. I will not fault you for liking this movie if you do. I just do not.
So it's available on Amazon, YouTube, I think Google Play and Apple. It's available everywhere to rent. But definitely just check it out and let us know what you think. If you're Irish or not Irish, you know, if you like it or hate it. I think it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. Yeah, we'd love to know what you think.
Yeah. Okay, so Carl, you want to go before me or you want me to go first?
Well, it was a play that was extended into a film, but really it should have been compacted into an airtight container and buried. So I'll give it 1 star.
Yeah, the only redeeming quality in this film is that if you turn it into a drinking game, you will get drunk really well. There's a lot of things, cliches and things that you can make up to turn this into a drinking game. However, that is not enough to make it a good film. And so I kind of want to go 0 stars, but I'm going to be somewhat considerate because they have a good cast who did a terrible job, but a good cast nonetheless. So I'm going to go 1 star just to be nice.
Okay. So it's a film that you go to see with your friends. And I'd love to see it in the cinema and just people's reactions. But definitely go to see it with your friends. It's not as bad as the trailer made out to be, but it's quite actually it is a quite boring film. Like they could have I know it looks a bit less boring in the trailer, but there are parts that lagged so much. And another friend of ours said it was really boring, and he actually fell asleep in the middle of it. So, you know, but it's bizarre, cliched, with though amazing actors, which I can't get my head around why they're in this. But yeah, I'll have to go with 1 star as well, just for the effort and the actors.
Well, that's not the lowest I've ever given. Anyway.
That's definitely the lowest. I don't think I've given anything a 1 star on this show.
Right.
I know you have, Cahill. So is this worse than your other 1 star? Or no, the other one you gave a half star to, didn't you?
The other one was worse.
The other one was worse, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not the lowest I've gone. So it's a high 1. A high 1.
Oh, okay. You're giving it a high 1. Wow. Well, no budget audience. We apparently did not like this film. You, however, should see it and make your own decision. And if you like it, more power to you. Definitely let us know why you liked it by reaching out to us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are at No Budget Show. or of course, leave a comment to the video below if you are watching this on YouTube. And we will leave by saying this. If you no, wait, I already said that part. And with that, we will stay tuned to see what we are watching next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
I wrote down an outro. That's why I was able to do
Or
that.
slán. In Irish.
I made a note.
See you later. I thought that was good.
Mhm.